Welcome back to the Duke Football Coverage Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, brought to you as always by Bull City Coordinators. You can check us out on our website, bullcitycoordinators.com. Follow us on Twitter at DukeFB Coverage. And you can find us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, Anchor, etc. We're easy to find, and our DMs on Twitter are open. If you are associated with the Duke program, past, present, or perhaps future, just shoot us a message and come on. Happy to talk with you. Happy to set something up. Always glad to take a few minutes to talk about Blue Devils football. Now, transitioning to our next guest, he played at Duke from 2016 to 2019. He was a three-time recipient of the program's Sonny Falcone Iron Duke Award, which honors year-round commitment to strength and conditioning. He was also a two-time academic All-ACC selection. After he graduated, he served as a GA working with the defense for the 2020 season. He played defensive end and wore number 59. How are you, Tre Hornbuckle?
I'm good this morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks a lot for coming on. Let's take a few minutes. Why don't you catch all of us up on what you've been doing since you left Durham? You know, it's easy for us to know what the basketball players are doing because we get to see their faces, but you guys got helmets and shoulder pads on. So take a few minutes. Tell us what you've been up to.
So after I got done GAing, the whole reason why I stopped coaching was because, Edmonton football team, well, now the Edmonton Elks gave me a contract. They gave me a contract opportunity. However, as I was preparing for that, I ended up getting cut in the process because they signed too many Americans. So then that summer, I went and took a risk and played in the IFL, the Indoor Football League. And I played for the Spokane Shot. I played there from, I want to say maybe really May till September. I was up there for a while. And then after that, I was actually had the luxury and opportunity to come back and get in Durham right in time for my graduation. The 2020 graduation was made up in September. So I got back right on time to do that, which honestly, that was a great time, seeing everybody, hearing what everybody else was doing, just kind of, it was like a big reunion for, people that have already been working and stuff. So that was a really great time to finally be able to graduate and somewhat walk across the stage at Duke University. That's what a lot of us at Duke take pride in, is walking across that stage, after all those years of hard work. And, because that's, like we all know, Duke is a very difficult school to get through. You have to put in the work to really succeed at that school. So, that was a wonderful, wonderful feeling to have my mom, my dad, and my grandfather all there to see that. So then, shortly, I'm going to say 2 weeks after I got done with graduation, my agent calls me. He's like, "Hey, Tre, you ready to go?" And I was like, I'm like, yeah. The Ottawa Red Blacks had reached out and they wanted to sign me. I didn't hear nothing, like with my arena film, I didn't hear nothing for like a month. So it's kind of discouraging because, my agent was like, the teams are full up here right now. Just keep working out, like, just stay at it. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna keep working out. And I actually got a small job at FedEx for a little while, just to put a little bit of money in my pocket. I was like, okay, let me just do something for right now, just in case something happens. Lo and behold, it came. One day I was just chilling, and my agent called me. He's like, "Hey, I was ready to take you. Are you ready to go?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I'm ready to go." I didn't realize I was going to leave that as quick as I did. I left on 2 days' notice. I was like, "Oh shoot." I think they signed me on a Sunday and they flew me out on a Tuesday. I was like, okay, it's real. It's here. It's time. And then, I went up there to Canada, I had quarantine for a week. But then after that, when I got out of quarantine, I took the time to really dive into the playbook and just know everything I needed to know. So that way I could play as fast as possible whenever the opportunity presented itself, whether in practice or in the game. And then ended up playing literally my first week out of quarantine, ended up playing in my first Canadian football game. And that was fun. And I got a big time fumble recovery, had a big time moment in the game. And it's like, wow. And then I ended up going to play one more game after that. There's a ratio difference. So that kind of kept me out the other games, but just playing in that league and making plays was definitely a confidence boost for myself. And it was just definitely something that I'm very thankful for. I ended up getting re-signed to go back. I'm excited. I've been working out, preparing for camp. I feel good, feel really good right now. I'm just happy, I'm happy and excited to go back up there.
Well, tell us a little bit about what football is like in Canada, the differences between the American game and the Canadian game, and tell us how your season went and what you're looking forward to this coming season.
So when I got up there, they were already, they weren't playoff eligible when I got up there. They were kind of having a down year. However, I wasn't going to let that affect me anyway. When I showed up, I still brought the same energy that I brought to the Duke practices that I brought up there. I brought that blue collar mentality. But, the difference is, one, there's 12 people on the field. You get an extra skill player or extra lineman, whatever you want to do. It's really an extra skill player, so extra receiver, tight end, fullback, whatever the formation calls for. And on defense, you have extra DB. And now you're playing on a bigger field. In America, the football field's width is about 53 yards, 52 yards, and then in Canada, it's 65. And then where in America, the football field is 100 yards. In Canada, I would say it's like 110 or 120. And the end zone is huge. It's like a 20-yard end zone. So, it's a quicker game. So instead of like in America, it's 3 and out. Canada is 2 and out. So if you're not successful on first down, you're going to get ready to punt. So special teams is a really big part of Canada, because you're off the field so fast. You get a TFL on first down where the punt team has to be ready or punt return team has to be ready. So that's kind of the difference. It's a passing league and it's a quicker game. But we have a 3-minute warning instead of a 2-minute warning. So, the game slows down in those last 3 minutes. And you could really come back from a big time lead, a big time deficit in those type of games in that 3 minutes. I've seen it, and it's just kind of crazy. But other than that, that's different. It's just the pace of it, and just you on 2 plays you can be back on the sideline, no matter that quick. So and then there's a ratio too where I think out of the 12 players, like 4 of the 12 have to be Canadians. So, and it's just that's what kind of messes people up a little bit coming from America to Canada is they have to honor that ratio because at the end of the day, it's Canadian football. If they didn't honor that ratio, it would just be another NFL up north, honestly. So, but I love how, the Canadians take pride in the Canadian Football League. If it's raining or snowing, they don't care if it's cold. They're going to sit all 3 hours of that game and watch it. Because, they take pride in that toughness of dealing with that cold weather. I'm enjoying it. Like I said, I can't wait to get up to camp and make some noise and just have fun. That's the main thing. I'm just really focused on this season. Now that I've gotten back into the game, I'm just focusing on having fun. Because I know what it's like to not have an opportunity to play now. And it honestly hurts. So now that I'm back in the swing of things, I'm like, man, I'm going to enjoy every second of this. I'm going to. I'm not going to let this time pass me by because once it's gone, it's gone. I'm going to really enjoy this window that I have to play the game. However long good old Lord blesses me to play this game, I'm going to be able to play it. But I'm just going to be where my feet are and enjoy every second of it.
I want to come back to talk a little bit more about how you ended up playing in Spokane and also in Canada, but can you tell us a little bit about what the indoor football league was like and what it was like playing for the Shock?
It was definitely different. It was fun. I had a lot of fun playing it. It's painful because, you're playing on basically carpet, like you're playing on, and, your surfaces might be a basketball court, a hockey ring, or like a expo center where it's concrete under the carpet. So, I was getting burnt and you wanted to wear sleeves. I wanted to be Mr. Tough guy and not wear sleeves one game. And that was a huge mistake on my part. Huge mistake. My elbows were destroyed. I always listen when it's time to wear leggings because, my leggings were getting ripped anyways. But I'm still getting turf burns on my knees and stuff. But the elbows, man, my elbows were destroyed. Every game I'm having to bandage up my elbows and stuff because, I'm making old burns worse. I'm making old burns worse, and then all of a sudden I'm finding new ones. It's like, man, well, and the concept of an arena is kind of different because outdoor football, I'm used to having wide alignments to have space, In indoor ball, you can't do that. As a D lineman, you have to line up, essentially head up. And that's how you pass rush from a head up position. It's not easy doing that, especially being that close to an opponent. So I mean, it's an advantage for the linemen because they don't have to truly pass set. So it's like it was hard. It was hard trying to learn at first, like adjusting to the indoor game coming outside because you want to play 100 miles an hour as any football player. But as a defensive player in the arena, you had to play a little bit more under control because one bad step or one false step, it'll be a touchdown. It'll be a touchdown. So it's just, you wanted to really, you had to really hone in and really, really pay attention to detail in your technique. I will say playing in Spokane made me a better football player because I had to be much more physical. Because one, they're not calling any holding. They're never going to call holds, which, I was taught, Coach Albert taught me in college anyways, like, man, as a D lineman, we do not complain about holding. You just have to be more physical and get his hands off you by any means necessary. You're not allowed to complain. So that, complaining about holding was something I've never done anyways, but they took holding to the extreme in the indoor league because they knew they could get away with it. So I will say that definitely made me, but that playing in Spokane and playing in the IFL definitely made me a much better ball player in a sense when it came to playing with physicality, and they honestly prepared me. That was my first time. I was the youngest guy on the team. And I was playing with guys who were 30, 32, 37, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it was like, dang, like I now knew what it feel like to play against grown men. We say it in college, I'm playing against grown men, but it's different battling with somebody that's 23, 24, where you're battling with somebody who's 20, like I said, 29 to 30. It's different. They've seen it all, they've done it all. So, like I said, that definitely made me a much better football player because I honestly, the patch of my game got exposed early in camp. I was just happy enough that I'd made the adjustments quick, so I was able to make the team. And we didn't have the season we wanted to in Spokane. We had a lot of injuries, a lot. We had a lot of first-time guys in arena, and people didn't know the game. And then, like I said, injury was the death wish. So, but I'm still grateful for the time I spent out there. Like I said, it was humbling and challenging, but I'm glad I made it through it. I had a great deal of success in arena ball during that season. I had 6 sacks in 6 games. So, I mean, I enjoyed it. And it prepared me for when I got up to Canada. It wasn't something new to go against somebody who was that much older than me. I already knew what it was like. I already knew what to expect. So, yeah.
Well, you mentioned your injuries in Spokane. You know a lot about teams dealing with injuries from your time at Duke. We'll talk about that soon enough. Tell me a little bit about how your senior year was 2019, and then the pandemic hits, the lockdowns hit, our world goes upside down. And just from a very, very micro perspective, how do you think that affected you preparing for the NFL draft and your teammates who were also trying to go to the NFL?
Well, personally, I think it affected me in a way where like the scouts didn't see the gains that I made, the strides that I took from playing in college to the way I changed my body preparing for the pros. In my senior bowl, I played in the Tropical Bowl along with Edgar Serenord. And, I weighed in at 250 pounds. And then at the end of my pro day training cycle, I was 265. So I made a great deal. I put a great deal of muscle on my body. I made myself into what I wanted to be. So that way I could have the best opportunity on pro day to show them all the hard work that I put in those 9 weeks I was gone away. And, I think that alone just kind of hurt all of us. They never got to see any of us really kind of improve. Like they never got to see us move in person after seeing us play in college. So, I think that kind of, honestly, that hurt all of us. Trayvon McSwain, he got picked up, which I was really happy about that, but just for the rest of us, it was just difficult. And, and it took a great deal of mental it's been a hard journey. I'm not going to sit and act like it hasn't. It's been hard. A lot of people's dreams in college ball is to go play in the NFL, but to have a shot to at least showcase their skill. And a lot of us, not even at Duke, around the country, did not get the opportunity. They didn't take the amount of free agents they normally take because there wasn't a mini camp. And I know like the rest of us knew, like, if we all would have got a mini camp shot, we'd have made something happen. That's kind of been our staple at Duke. A lot of guys get a mini camp shot. All of a sudden, boom, they're starters before we know it. So, that was kind of the thing. I commend everyone for their hard work that we had to put in. But I definitely think, not having a pro day really, really hurt a lot of people during that. Because that's where they're able to assess your improvements, and not being able to participate in the pro day, that was just difficult. And like I did one combine, like, pro day type workout in Baltimore with American National Combines, but still, like, it wasn't the same as actually having all those scouts at the school, taking your measurements, seeing you, working you out. You know what I'm saying? It's just not the same because, that was back when COVID was really heavy. There wasn't really any scouts at the combine I went to. The guy that ran it was an ex NFL scout, but it's just not the same. It's not the same. But like I said, I'm blessed and I'm grateful to be where I'm at now, playing in Ottawa. But it has been a process. It's been a long process. It's been a journey. It's only continuing. That's the thing. So yeah.
Yeah, and especially for guys coming out of Duke, the undrafted free agent portal seems to really be the way that a lot of guys have gotten into the league, become contributors. And without the pro day, I've talked to some other guys from your era, it really hurt not being able to come to school, not being able to see you guys. But I'm glad you're getting the opportunity to play now. And would you like to just comment a little bit on guys who maybe are in similar spots as you about trying to make a decision? Do I go to Canada? Do I play indoors? What do I do? What kind of advice would you give them?
I tell them to, go with your heart. I prayed a lot on it because, when I got cut from Edmonton, out of the blue, it was just kind of like a shock. It's like, dang, like, what do I do now? And honestly, I just took the risk. I said, let me go play arena ball. It's not the best football, like, in regards to pay. There's some good talent in the arena. Don't get me wrong, but it's just something I felt like had to be done. Because at the end of the day, when the scouts are looking, they need to see what you look like now. Like, what are you doing now? How do you move now? And I wanted to show them that I'm still the same physical football player I was in college. So for guys that are still chasing that, I'll just tell them to keep chasing. Don't because at the end of the day, this journey can be very lonely because nobody's going to really understand what you're going through mentally or physically. Just for hopes that you may get a phone call or an email or a message saying, hey, are you ready to go? And right now, with the way it's been, like, the chances are getting now. The chance now, right now, 2022, now everything's opening back up. Yeah, teams are having open tryouts and stuff now, so it's different. But back then, when you didn't know if you're going to get a phone call or not, you just, I just want to tell guys that you have to see it yourself and believe it yourself. And I'm a total believer in manifestation. You could manifest things that you want. You have to see it and believe it and go get what you want at the end of the day. You have to be proactive in the process to make things happen. Are you reaching out to GMs? Are you doing your research? There's a lot that goes into it. More than, you have to do your own work too. But still, like I would say, I would tell them just to keep chasing it. If this is what you want to do, chase it with everything you got. Because our body, where our bodies are at right now and our ages, our window is a very short window to do what we want to do. So go attack it now while you can, because don't have any what ifs in the process. Do not. Don't have any regrets. If you got to take a risk, take it. Because honestly, I thought I was going to regret playing arena ball, but I don't think the opportunity ever would have presented itself if I was still sending just regular workout tips. I'm glad I was able to produce some really good film of myself competing and going hard and playing 100 miles an hour. I'm glad I was able to do that. I look back on it and I'm grateful that I took that route. Was it an easy route? No. It was not. But I'm glad I did it. And for anybody out there that's in the same boat I was in or I am now, if you get an opportunity to go play in Canada, go play in Canada. If you get an arena opportunity, go play. Go play while you can, because you never know what can come off of it. So, yeah.
All right. Well, let's switch gears a little bit and get into the Blue Devils and football in America and college football. Tell us where you're from originally and how you got into playing football.
So I'm from Murray, Kentucky originally, which I am currently here right now. I just got here on Friday. You know, how did I get into playing football? Man, you know, it's funny. I got into playing because one day, you know, I was a long time, Baltimore Ravens fan. You know, I loved Ray Lewis. You know, that was my favorite player my whole life. You know, that kind of got me into wanting to play football because it looked fun. You know, I didn't know much about it. You know, I come from a basketball playing family. My uncle played college basketball. My mom played college basketball. So, you know, basketball is kind of one of those things that was pumped into my head early. And, you know, but I came across this old picture of myself where, you know, I used to stuff my T-shirt with clothes. I would wear these tight T-shirts, and I would put like other T-shirts inside of them and stuff. And I had this plastic helmet. I was like, Mom, I want to play football. I want to play football. And then, you know, one of my older cousins who was playing football at the time, I would always take his when he would go to take naps and stuff, I would always take his equipment and put it on. So, you know, when I was a young kid, you know, I would take it. I go outside and, you know, my mom she has a lot of pictures of me when I did that, you know. So that was kind of, you know, my mom really kind of encouraged me into playing football once she found out that I loved it. She kind of introduced me to it. I started playing flag football in second grade. Then I actually played up on the fourth grade team when I was in third grade. Because I was like, you know, a lot of us that were playing flag football, we didn't play flag, we were tackling. So a lot of those kids ended up getting put on the fourth grade team that year, whatever year that was. But when I was young, and, you know, and that's kind of how I got into it. And, you know, I think my first game ever playing contact football, I had like 12 tackles. And that's when everybody was kind of just like, oh. And then, you know, I kind of veered off from football. Yeah, I kept playing a little league and stuff, but I didn't take it serious because, you know, I thought, you know, I was taller than everybody growing up. So I thought I was going to grow up to be this guy that's 6'6", 6'7". So, you know, I had hoop dreams for a really long time. I wanted to play basketball, college basketball. You know, I enjoyed it. I loved it. I played a lot more basketball than I ever played football in my lifetime. So, you know, I was doing all the AAU stuff. You know, then one day, middle school, we had gotten a new high school head coach. And he just happens to see me walking in the middle school. His name is Coach Steve Duncan. He looked at me. He's like, son, he's like, you will be one of my most heavily recruited players I've ever had. And I was like, for what? He's like, for football. I just kind of looked at him because, you know, in Murray, Kentucky, you know, we don't have a big like history of sending guys to play Division I football. We don't. So it's just like, okay, like, I mean, it sounded good, but I'm like, all right, whatever. You know, most recruited player. And I mean, he said that to me every day. And to the time he honestly quit coaching me in high school eventually. I mean, he literally told my mom he's going to be my most heavily recruited player. I didn't know. Now, what came with that, though, was a lot of hard work, which I'll get to in a minute. But, you know, it's in middle school, like I said, though, like, I quit taking it serious. And it wasn't until, let's say, either 7th or 8th grade, things were clicking on the field. Things were happening naturally. I was like, okay, like in basketball, I have to work extremely hard just to get this down. For football, I'm naturally just beating linemen and pass rush. I'm naturally scoring touchdowns. It was just natural. And then my mom and I talked about it going into high school. My mom was like, Tre, football might be your calling as much as you love basketball. And at the time, I accepted it. Some people don't want to accept something like that, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna accept that it is, and I'm gonna attack it. You know, my high school, he's the head coach now. He was my assistant coach. His name is Dior Curtis. You know, I credit Coach Dior a lot to my success as a football player, especially when I wanted to learn how to play defensive line. You know, coming into high school football as a tight end. You know, I thought I wanted to catch passes and stuff. You know, it was good. It was fun. You know, I played in the wishbone offense. So if you know anything about the wishbone, we're not throwing the football. So, that's what made me, kind of start getting more intrigued about playing on defense. I started on the varsity team in high school, all 4 years of high school. And, once I started playing on defense, that's when I really figured like, okay, this is my place. Like offense is fun and all, but something about defense I love more. I think I just love just the hunt, like going and getting people, going and hitting people and delivering the punishment. I didn't like to take the punishment as a tight end. I did not enjoy that by any means. You're 6'3", 210. A lot of people are coming for your knees. I did not like that. So, and then I put in a lot of work into this football stuff with my basketball coach. After a day in the weights on football, I'm on the field another 2 hours with him, conditioning, running routes, working on pass rush. Like we a lot of work went into my success when it came as a football player. A lot of work went into it. Or when it was either field work, extra weight room time, or we were on the hill, one or the other. But I understood, because he told me straight up, he's like, you want to be a D1 football player, you need to put in D1 work. And that's what we did. We got after it. Because where I live, we don't have none of the cool facilities or nothing like that. No, we don't have that. It's not Florida. It's not Miami. It's Murray, Kentucky. So, I give a lot of credit to him, to Dior Curtis. And there's and the list goes on and on with the people that helped me. But, Dior Curtis coached me from the time I was in fourth grade playing AAU all the way up till I was a senior in high school playing. And now he's the new head coach. He's a head coach now. He got the new head coaching job, I would say, like 2018. But yeah, and they're making great strides, making great runs, and they just won the region tournament. That was the third time we've done it in history here in Murray. They're headed to state. So he understands the process. He taught me the process early, which I definitely think that contributed a lot to my success in college. Because I understood everything has a process to it. So yeah.
How did you end up coming to Duke, and who was recruiting you?
So wow, okay, this is a crazy story. It's a really crazy story. So one day, I was getting scholarships my junior year. Miami, Ohio, all the MAC schools, some FCS schools. And one day, I get this Twitter notification on my phone. It's like Coach Clay McGrath from Duke football has followed you. I'm like, Duke football? I was like, how did Duke coach from Duke just find my tape? So I was like, okay, why would they even look at Murray? Like, cause I did the research. I'm like, Durham is 9 to 10 hours south of Murray. Like, why are they coming to Murray? Like, there's nothing, like, we've had some players come out of Murray, out of our area, but just Murray in general, no. So I was like, okay. And so I followed him. And anytime a coach followed me on Twitter, I started my highlight tape immediately. They might have already seen it. I was like, hey, coach, I'm Tre Hornbuckle. May you please take a look at my highlight tape? A lot of times they're like, oh, I've already seen it. Like, we know. And then, so then when, I sent it to Coach McGrath, Coach Clay, he's like, man, you are a ball player. He's like, call me now. So I was like, okay. He told me to call him. I got so excited. I'm like, I'm about to get my first ACC offer. Like, it's about to blow up from there. It was just basically, when I called him, we had a really, really long conversation, just getting to know each other, which, it was kind of good because that might have been the longest I've ever talked to any coaches on the phone anyways back at that time. So I was like, we had just a really good conversation. And he's like, man, I have to get you here to camp. He's like, you need to come to a camp. And if you show the other coaches what I've seen on tape, we can definitely be talking an offer if you get here and dominate. So I was like, oh, that's perfect. So lo and behold, that summer, my coaches were able to help me get down to Durham. And, I went to camp and I balled out. I was rushing at nose. I was rushing at DN. I did everything possibly so they could see my skill set. Because I'm not going to lie, that camp was really tough. Coach Cut made those camps tough. They tried to make us quit. They were running us like no tomorrow. And I was like, wow. I thought I came here to do one-on-ones, not conditioning. So, when I went to camp, I was literally beating a bunch of kids who had way bigger offers than I was. Like, they were 3 stars and 4 stars. I was a 2-star. I was beating them like easily. I was just boom, boom, boom. All of a sudden, Coach Cut comes over there And Coach Jim Collins and Coach Jim Knowles at the time, they said, hey, there's like Hornbuckle, come here. There's like, this is our head coach, Coach David Cutcliffe. I was like, oh, hey, coach, how are you doing? He's like, where are you from? I was like, oh, I'm from Murray, Kentucky. He's like, He's like, where is that? I was like, oh, well, basically it's the southwest corner of Kentucky. I'm a lot closer to Nashville than any big Kentucky cities, He's like, well, he's like, honestly, he's like, I know you're dominating, but I'm not offering you today, which was a heartbreaker. It was, because I'm like, dang, if you go at any camp, you go ball out, you're thinking you're going to get offered. But, Cut was different when it came to the recruitment process. Like, Cut had to do his homework on you. Because Coach Cut didn't want to just bring anybody into the Duke football program. Because that's not what we're about. So, after that happened, I was mad, it's like, dang, like, I did all this, came this. So I apologize. So they just tried to call me. But, oh, yeah. So then after I was mad. So I was like, man, like, I wanted this offer. But, and all this other good stuff. But, 2 weeks later, I got offered. They just had to do some research, So Coach McGrath and Coach Derek Jones were kind of the main guys recruiting me at the time. Because Coach Derek Jones actually coached at Murray State way back when. So he knew the area. So, that helped. They offered me when I was actually going to visit another school. I was on the Greyhound bus to go to Indiana University. And that's why they offered me when I was on the Greyhound bus. And that was pretty exciting moment, just because, one, like, I had to try to hold my excitement in, because there was a lot of people sleeping and stuff on the bus. So I didn't want to wake them up. But when I tell you I was excited, oh man, I was ecstatic. And I was like, wow, like, I just got a full scholarship offer to go to Duke University. And then, kind of after that, I was just kind of thinking, I went to Indiana, visited, did a camp and stuff. They ended up offering me too eventually. And I was just like, man, like, I was like, I didn't really want to waste time in recruit. I'm like, I was really considering going to Duke anyways. So I mean, let me just go ahead and commit now. Like, what am I waiting for? I was just mad the other day that they didn't offer me. Now here they are giving me the opportunity and believing in my skill set and believing in me as a player and a person to come be a part of the program. I'm like, I'm not gonna waste time. So I actually committed to Duke after one of my workouts with my basketball coach, because we talked about it. He's like, man, he said, just commit. He's like, I know how you felt when you didn't get the opportunity, but now here it is. He's like, don't let it pass you by. I'm like, you know what, you're right. And that's why I pulled the trigger and committed to Duke.
That's a great story, especially hearing about Coach Jones. He was a great recruiter during his time at Duke. Let's go through kind of your seasons, and I'll lump two of them together since you mentioned your injuries in Spokane. 2016, 2018. If 2016 was injury riddled, 2018 was injury plagued. What were those two seasons like for you guys? Because from the outside fan perspective, 2016, I felt you guys were coming in with a lot of promise after that win against Indiana in the Pinstripe Bowl. And then the way 2018 was going, it just seemed like if you guys could have stayed healthy, you would have won maybe 10 wins and been competing for the ACC. Your eyes just got big when I said that. But what were those seasons like from the inside?
So 2016, dang, just thinking about 2016 alone, that was a long time ago. Personally, me being, I played a little bit as a freshman. So, it was just, 2016 was a weird year in a way. Like, I think we beat Notre Dame that year, but then went on a losing streak. And it's just like, man, like, what's going on? We had a lot of injury that year too. And I just felt like there wasn't much I could do myself, because I was so young and so I wasn't able to be in the weight room with Durfee full time at the time. So I felt like, man, like, I thought I prepared hard, but it's different. Playing against guys that's already been lifting is different. Trying to know the game plan, like just making that adjustment to college football as a true freshman is tough. It is tough. Being a true freshman sounds good until you have to do it, manage it with, okay, I still got to learn the playbook and the game plan, and I still have to go to school. Like, it was tough. But, honestly, I think 2016, man, I just think guys were just, the injury just kind of was just taking a toll on us, and it's like, guys are getting beat up, and it's just like, man, but I do commend, we fought hard. I mean, on all the Duke teams I've been on, I will say, we fought hard through a lot of adversity. Really, because, in 2016, we lost a lot of games by 10 points or less. And so it's like, dang, like, come on, dang, almost there. We should have won. We should have. But, I definitely commend the guys. We were able to beat Carolina that same year, and that felt good, being able to send the seniors out the right way on that type of note saying they were able to beat Carolina that year. I mean, we had a lot of hard people that put a lot into this program on that team. From, Jalea Duncan, Thomas Sirk, AJ Wolf. The list goes on and on. So, it's just like, it felt good to send them out the right way, even though a bowl game did not happen. But that was definitely a tough year injury-wise. But I did not know it could get worse going when we in that 28 season. I didn't know it could get worse than that. So, in 2018, when everybody was injured at some point. And I was like, wow. But I will say, just coming into like the hunger of the team, in 2016, all of us were young. 2018, we're seeing that opportunity. Like, this is our time to shine. It was literally a next man up mentality. Like, listen, you never know your number would be called because people were dropping left and right. But I will say a lot of people stepped up, and I mean a lot. It's like, wow, like guys that were on scout team were getting moved over into the ones and twos and picking up where the guy left off. Like, there was no drop off. And I firmly believe this, and I don't really care who doesn't believe it. I definitely believe if we don't have the amount of injury we had in 2018, we would have been in the ACC championship. I stand on it. Because I say that was our year because, Daniel was on fire. Daniel was on fire. TJ Ramy on fire. Everybody was on fire. And it's like we had put so much work in that offseason outside of the facility. It was insane. We were all bought into, hey, this is the year to go. Because, that 2017 season when we went to the Quick Lane Bowl, we lost 6 games in a row. We started out hot, went on a 6-game losing streak. Once again, we were losing by 10 points or less in most of the games. So it was pretty discouraging. But then we were able to, come together and toughen out two tough wins against Georgia Tech and Wake Forest, and then go to the bowl game and play NIU and win. And, once we had that feeling of, man, it feels good to go to a bowl game, we was like, we have to go again. We can't miss anymore. Because there's, I really enjoyed having Christmas spending my Christmas with the football team in college. I enjoyed it. I feel like it made us, closer as a team. And I don't know. There's just something about it, man. I can't explain it. I tell guys all the time, once you go to a bowl game, you're never going to want to miss another one. And in that year, even though it was the walk-on Independence Bowl, not the one we wanted, but hey, it still felt great to send Daniel and all the other seniors, Joe, Giles, Ben Humphreys, and send them out on the right note with a win. But, that definitely believe, if people stayed healthy and we did not get plagued with injury the way we were plagued with injury, I definitely think that's a 10-win season. A 10-win season, we're going to ACC championship season. I definitely believe that. But shout out to the guys. I was saying, shout out to everybody that really, just fought hard and believed. We could have easily went downhill when we had all those injuries, but we had guys that were so hungry and waiting for opportunity to get on the field. When it was time, they attacked the opportunity. When their number got called out of nowhere, they said, all right, whatever. Grab it by the horns, let's go. We got a game to win. It was a beautiful sight to see, seeing guys that were on scout team come flourish on Saturdays.
And turning back to the 2016 season, I want to go over some of those close losses you mentioned. Wake Forest, 24-14, Northwestern, 24-13. Louisville, I remember that game, watching it. I think it was a Thursday night game or maybe a Friday game. 24-14, lost by 3 to Georgia Tech, 3 to Virginia Tech. There were, the ball bounces a little bit differently in those games. It's a very different season, right? Yeah. Maybe instead of going 4-8, you guys are 6-6 or 7-5, right?
Exactly. Yes.
2017, I'd forgotten about these close losses. All I remember is the 6-game losing streak. And then we were at the Georgia Tech game when the lights came back on for you guys. But the close losses in 2017, by 7 points to Virginia, by 7 points to Florida State, 7 points to Pittsburgh, 5 points to Army. Again, that could have easily been a very different season for you all, right? And then 2018, it just looks like it's coming together and boom, everybody gets hurt, you know. But I want to ask a little bit about, before we get into the 2019 season, some of the position coaches and coordinators that you had while you were there. Tell us a little bit about Coach Albert, what kind of coach he was and how helpful he's been to your career.
Man, when I say I could talk all day about this, man, I can speak all day about him. I don't really, one, that Coach Albert is probably like one of my favorite coaches I've ever had. And like, when I say he cares about his players, he cares. Coach Albert is a great, great man. I mean, even guys I played with in Canada that had time around Coach Albert, everybody says the same stuff. That is a great dude. Which Coach Albert is a great man. Outside of how great of a football coach he is, Coach Albert respects all his players, and I definitely saw Coach Albert as a father. I did. That's the type of relationship. And even when I coached with him, it felt like I was coaching with like my dad. Like I got that sense of a feeling from like, he made me feel that comfortable, and he taught me a lot. And and Coach Albert, he was a great football player himself. And, he understood, sometimes people will have guys that coach a position that's never played. With him playing, he's played nose guard. He knows what it's like to be a D lineman. So he understands what's being asked of us physically. So he knew, one, how to mentally prepare us, and two, how to physically prepare us. He physically prepared us in practice. I can tell you that. We worked. You would have came down to our corner and the D-line corner and Indy drills. Our Indy drills were not for the faint at heart. However, when those lights cut on Saturday, we were ready to go. But, but getting back to it, Coach Albert was just a great guy. He's a great guy because he's genuine. What you see is what you get with Coach Albert. So, he just did a great job just caring for us and making us just feel loved. And that's why we wanted to play for him. We would do anything for Coach Albert. Coach Albert told us to do something. We did it with no hesitation, because we knew it was for our best interest in football and our best interest in life. So, I absolutely enjoyed being around Coach Albert. If I could have played for him, around him for 8, if I could have been coached by him for 8 seasons, I would. I enjoyed every minute learning from him. I mean, he's taught me so much about the game. He's taught me so much about how to handle situations in life. I mean, there's a lot of credit I give to Coach Albert for making me the man I am today, teaching me on how to be a man outside of being a good football player. I could keep going. Again, what I'm saying? Like, just all in all, I love Coach Albert. All of us loved Coach Albert. Still love him to death. So yeah, he was great. He was a great asset to us, and great asset.
Tell us a little bit about your former defensive coordinator, Coach Knowles. He's at Ohio State now, went from Duke to Oklahoma State. Now he's in the Big Ten. Tell us a little bit about him as a coach and what you think has made him so successful.
He's a genius, in my opinion. Coach Knowles is a genius, man. I mean, he does what he has to do, and the adjustments he can make on the fly is insane. It was insane. I think that was my biggest eye-opener, with how smart he was. I'd say I made a mistake on some early drive in the game. The fact that he was able to come bring that drive up, and I couldn't even remember what play he was talking about. I'm like, wow. This was back before, teams had like iPads and stuff on the sidelines. So I'm like, dang, you remember that? I was like, well, Coach, we're going to have to, I told him a few times, like, Coach, we have to talk about that one in film, because I don't even know what I did, to be honest with you. So, but honestly, though, no, Coach Knowles was a genius. And Coach Knowles had that it factor of like, I'm not going to be outworked. Like, and that's what I enjoyed about Coach Knowles. Like, Coach Knowles, he really pumped us up to go play. I mean, I'm not going to speak on things that he said, but it's just, he got us there, and we all trusted his plan, and we executed it, and he brought us great success. So, Coach Knowles was one of those guys, I enjoyed being around. I did. I enjoyed being around Coach Knowles. He was a great man. Loved playing for him. It hurt when he left. It hurt me a lot, because I really love Coach Knowles. So, but I'm glad to see him. He's still having success. I'm proven right when I say he's a genius, so, hey, it is what it is. That's how football is. But, I enjoy playing with Coach. I love it.
Well, before we get into 2019, could you just tell us a little bit about what it was like to be up for a quarter against Clemson back in 2018?
It was a great feeling. Well, and honestly, I think that's what let me know that if we would have had our weapons, that game would have been different. So the fact that, even though with all the injury, we have all these guys out here that haven't played a lot of college football who are still hanging with Clemson. I'm just like, imagine if we had all of our guys healthy. I'm like, this game would be different. It probably would have went down to the dogfight. I believe it would have been like a game where we win either by a touchdown or lose by a field goal or lose by a touchdown. It was going to be one of those type of games. Honestly, but that's what I knew. Like the talent we had on the team was legit. I was like, wow, like even like guys that were on scout team were covering Amari Rodgers, T. Higgins, and guys like that. I'm like, man, like we got some talent here. We have some talent, but it felt good. It did feel good. But then Travis Etienne got loose. We were told don't miss a tackle on Travis or he'll score, and we missed a tackle and he scored. So Travis Etienne's different. He's a different beast. But that, like I said, that was a fun game to be a part of. It was a fun game to be a part of. It was a fun experience.
Well, let's go ahead and get into 2019. Trying to think about where to start. The Alabama game was different. I remember listening to it driving back from my grandparents' house. Caught it on the radio and listened to it as long as I could. Signal died out on some back roads getting home. But what do you remember most about that year?
The 2019 year. It's kind of there's two games. Like the elephant in the room is the UNC game, of course. But I think there's two games that kind of dictated how that season was going. There's two games we needed to win, so that way we could be bowl eligible. And the Pittsburgh game and the UNC game were two games that we needed. One, because I believe we win those two games, we probably win 8 games that season, in my opinion. But those two losses were just they were detrimental. It's like, dang, people don't know this, but we had some beef with Pitt before the game. Pitt was kicking up. That was a personal game. They were kicking our field up and stuff. Kicking up the end zone and the dude. Just being disrespectful. So that was a personal thing, and I actually ended up leaving that game with a concussion. In like the middle of the third quarter. Middle of the third quarter. But that's a game, and then of course the UNC game. What happened. That was a tough loss, and they didn't. And I don't think UNC handled the win appropriately. But it is what it is. It's college sports. Stuff like that happens all the time. So I'm not going to say him like, oh, they should have been nice about it. No, it was a big time game, big time moment. It's a lot of emotions flowing. So, but yeah, I definitely 2019 season was a little tough because I thought coming out of the off season, we were very confident in Quentin. So there was never any doubts when it came to Quentin. Honestly, there was no doubts when it came to the team, to be honest. We put a lot of work in that off season. We were expecting to pick up. We were expecting to be the 2018 season without the injuries. Honestly, we thought we believed in ourselves, and I believe that we can make a big run at this. But sometimes things take different type of turns that you're not ready for. So you just kind of have to roll with the punches and handle the adversity. That's what our sport's about. How can you handle adversity? Because football brings a lot of adversity to you when you're between those lines. So it was a kind of it was a tough year, dealing with some stuff, but I definitely enjoyed how we were able to finish it and beat Miami. I enjoyed beating Miami twice, in a row. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So, we finished strong, even though we didn't get the bowl game win. I'm not looking back. I wouldn't have it any other way, just because, I'm very grateful for the guys I went to war with that season. A lot of, we put our bodies and life on the line when we go between those lines. So I'm never going to say like, oh, I wish this would have happened. Like, yeah, I wish things could have been different, but I'm not, they happened. Can't fix them now. Just got to keep moving on. So it was a tougher year, but I mean, hey, like I said, I'm very grateful for how the year went down. Because I believe it helped mold us as men and how to handle situations that you in the right way. So
let me ask you a little bit about kind of some trends that we saw develop in 2019 that continued throughout 2020 and 2021 in regard to kind of some inconsistencies. You play Pitt close, you beat Georgia Tech, but then Virginia just handles you guys. And then, the Carolina game was close. What do you think the source of some of that was, the week to week difference in performance or results? I mean, I know you guys played hard and I know you guys put it all out there, but what do you think was the issue behind some of that?
I think that was kind of a turn of where we had a lot of young guys on the team. A lot of experience, a lot of people that haven't played college ball were playing. And, I just think sometimes when you in preparation, some people that don't know how to prepare, sometimes you miss that attention to detail, and when games you're supposed to do a certain assignments and stuff, you're not doing them, you will get handled. Like if you're not consistent in your preparation, we're not doing what we have to do, that's going to happen. And that's just kind of what took the time. A lot of people didn't realize what went in. I don't think a lot of people would realize what goes into preparation. You don't just go out on Saturdays and play. No, you have to study your opponent. You have to do the time. You have to do the film. You have to do everything you got to do to be successful. And that just kind of showed, and not knocking any young guys. I'm never knocking young guys. I'm just saying, like, if you've never been in this situation or it's just your first time in the situation, of course, you're not going to know what to do. So I think kind of just was a mix of it. And there's a lot of things, just some other things that kind of just trickled down, but, I'm not going to speak on it, but it's just some different factors that go into that, and that can lead to a very bad product on the field. So at times, not at times, it will lead to a bad product on the field. So that's just kind of what happens. Yeah.
Well,
I learned from it, but it was definitely tough to be around it. It was tough, but it is what it is.
Let's talk about the Carolina game in particular. I mean, it's close. It looks like Carolina is going to get the win. They're driving down the field, and then there is a turnover that gets forced, and the offense gets the ball, goes back down the field. Can you walk us through that play where you guys knock the ball loose, scoop it up, and give the offense a chance?
I don't know if you know this, I was the one that actually happened to knock the ball out.
That might be why I asked you about it.
Yeah, but no. So it was crazy because I'm not gonna lie to you. When I tell you, we were dog tired because they drove it down the field, and I mean, I felt like this drive was never going to end. And I'm just watching the clock, and I'm like, man, like if they score here, it's over. Like our chances are out the window. We call on the goal line. We call a blitz. I didn't even realize I knocked the ball out. I thought, when they handed the ball to the running back and he dove, I just jumped. I was like, okay, I have a perfect angle. I'm gonna just jump and catch him from the side. Because Trayvon hit him up top and he spun. And when I jumped it through my arms, I just happened to boom, punch it out. I was like, wow. I thought I did some, weird WWE type of thing and hit him and the ball spun out. But I mean, the punch out was pretty clean too. Don't get me wrong. So, but no, that was definitely a big moment because it was like, wow, like, we held up. We held up. Like I never had any confidence that we were fold, but it's like, with the running backs they had, those two jokers that are both running all over people in the NFL right now. Yeah, they had those guys were the real deal. So, it just felt good. It was a very good momentum swing to get the offense the ball and see them drive it down the field. It was a big moment. So yeah, it's the moment I'm never going to forget. It's something I rewatch on my phone all the time, because it's just like, wow, I wish somebody could have caught a picture of me in the air when I punched it, but it's all good. It's all good. No worries. But yeah, it was a good moment, man. But, and then, seeing the offense click on the way down the field, I was like, man, this game, I thought we had it in the bag, but we know what happens. So it is what it is at this point. But yeah, it was still fun. It was probably I think that was, regardless of this outcome, that was one of the most intense Carolina games I've been a part of. 2018 was pretty intense too, because that was a really close game too. So I mean, but Daniel showed why he is what he is. I believe in that game. Daniel really, in 2018 Carolina game, Daniel dominated. So, and that was a big part of its success. But I mean, like I said, watching Quentin be a field journal of that game, man. I mean, it was a sight to see. It's a beautiful sight to see. I can tell you that.
Walk me through, if you care to emotionally relive it, what turned out to be the final play for the offense. They line up, timeouts called, you come back out, the offense comes back out in the same formation, and then we know what happens. Walk us through how you guys are processing the lead up to it and then the aftermath.
I mean, it's just kind of it's a heartbreaking situation, but I mean, kind of had to, we probably felt how everybody else felt, not even worse and not any worse, a little bit of disbelief and whatnot. But I mean, it is what it is. It happens, but yeah, definitely hurt. But we just kind of had to move forward with it. That's the name of the game. Make calls that you regret, but hey, you keep moving forward at the end of the day. So it's just, yeah, we definitely felt, like I said, we felt like how everybody else felt, and try to move forward, man. Things could have been different, but they weren't. But hey, that's life sometimes, so it is what it is at that point. But yeah, it was tough. It was tough for sure. And then on top of that, it didn't help having Carolina rub it in our face after that. Hey, that's football. That's football. In games like that, stuff like that's gonna happen. So, it is what it is. And plus, they haven't seen the bell for 3 years. So, of course they're gonna have of course they're gonna have that emotion. It's been stuck with us for a while. So
you were captain for the 2019 season. What did that mean to you, being captain?
Oh man, I mean, it felt really good because knowing that all those guys believed in me and saw me as a leader. I started saying more, but I was never the guy to say a lot. I like to work. I love, people say, oh, I lead by example. Like, no, I wanted people to physically see how hard I'm working in practice, how hard I'm working in the weight room, how hard I'm going in runs. Like, I want them to see that I am literally giving this stuff my all. Like, cause everybody, I feel like every time you say, oh, like, you gotta be a leader. A lot of people is always gonna say, oh, I like to lead by example. But I took leading by example to heart. I was like, I feel like in order to be a leader, you have to have yourself in order first before you even think about leading anybody else or telling anybody else what to do. So I wanted to make sure without a doubt that my stuff and myself was in order before I ever even thought about saying something else to anybody else. And I knew I could control how hard I worked and how diligent I was about my work. So that's what I did. And, and just on top of that, I respected people. Like, I just showed guys respect. Like, I mean, that's what it's about. It's about respect. Like, you want to treat people how you want to be treated. You want to treat people well. And, I wanted people to remember me for the teammate I was, not some guy who was, we didn't like being around Tre. No, I wanted people to enjoy being around me. But when it was time to work, we had to work. Because that's what we're here to do. We're here to work. That's why we're going to school for free. We're here to work. So just think, when times we need to be done, it has to be done. And it's simple. So it definitely was a great feeling, being captain, being voted captain my senior year by other guys, just showing how much they appreciated me and believed in my leadership skills. I really, it felt great. It felt great.
Well, you transitioned from playing to coaching. What was that transition like for you?
It was different. Luckily, me being the person I am, I'm very selfless anyways, so I'm always thinking about others before myself. So that was easier, just realizing that, it's not about me no more. It's all about the players and their well-being. So that was an easy adjustment. The thing I didn't realize is, and what made me even angrier at myself looking back as a player, I did not realize how much goes into preparation. It is different. I mean, the coaches spend a lot of time talking over and looking over things in these meeting rooms. And it made sense why am I getting yelled at for a little small, simple mistake? No, because we spend all day, like coaches spend all day prepping and have to spend longer time teaching us stuff. And like they expect us to get it because that's our job. You know what I'm saying? Like in the pros, if you're busting plays, you're cut. Man, it's simple. Like in college, it's not really a system like that where they're cutting you. Yeah, they might not play you if you're not getting right, but like in the pros, you don't. It's your job to know stuff. It's your job to listen to meetings, as it is in college. So it's like, wow, like I did not realize how much went into it. And yeah, I'm very blessed and thankful that I have a year of coaching because that year coaching made me a better football player returning back to the game. It did. Because one, I took the game more serious in my preparation as a player. I learned, watching how different people would analyze film, figure out different ways I analyze it. It's like, wow, okay, maybe this will help me pick up on the way he looks at this and sees this. Let me look at it this way. And that'll probably help me pick up on trends myself. Just different stuff. There's just a lot that goes into being a coach. And that, I appreciated them a lot more being a coach with them than I was as a young guy in college. I definitely had a lot more appreciation for what gets done. And now as I'm playing again, I take that same appreciation and consideration going into camps and when I'm looking at installs and stuff. Like, at the end of the day, it's their job. So if we're not doing what we have to do, that can result in, them getting fired. At the end of the day, that's the reality. So, that definitely changed my outlook, but on football, but it definitely made me a better player. It made me a way better player. And now, like I said, I felt, just me personally, like being as a first year guy, I felt I had more anxiety or like nerves going into games as a coach than I did as a player. Because playing's easy. To me, playing's easy. I'm just out there having fun. As a coach, there's so much stuff you have to see and know and pick up on in a matter of seconds. It's like, wow, like you have to really be on your P's and Q's as a coach. So I commend all the football coaches out there that are constantly working, grinding, and preparing. I commend them because, everybody can't do that. And, I definitely have a lot of respect for anybody who is a coach. I have a lot of respect for the guys that have coached me. So yeah, a lot that goes into it. It was definitely an eye-opener.
Well, I'm not going to talk about any of the offensive guys in this next segment because they get too much credit as it is, and you guys on the defense get overlooked. But you played along some guys who are in the NFL right now, guys like Victor D. Michael Carter, Mark Gilbert. What's it like for you to see them in the NFL?
It's just like a proud brother moment. Like I know, Vic and I are really close. Me, Vic, Chris, and myself, we're all really close. We're in the same position room. I remember, I hosted Vic on his official visit. Stuff like that. I saw the work that I saw the work that we all put in together, and it made me feel good knowing that what they did and how they produced and the work they put in didn't go in vain. I saw Mark putting in the work, Michael Carter putting in the work. I've seen it all, and especially Mark. We knew Mark was special. Coming in, we all knew like Mark was special. We never outside of the family history, like we knew Mark was special. We're like, okay, Mark's going to be that guy. And then that 2017 year when Mark took off, was like, yeah, Mark's really that guy. And then to see the process of watching Mark relearn how to walk, relearn how to run, all the things he went through with that injury, and still come pop a 4.3 on pro day. It's like it's stuff like that you just can't. It's hard. It's stuff like that makes this game of football so special. For us, like we all saw it. We saw what he had to go through in the training room. And that's just us seeing it. We don't know how it felt, the way he knows how it felt. But it was just like, it kind of could bring like a tear of joy to you, seeing this man go from relearn how to walk and run, all of a sudden, pro day coming, you run a 4.3. It's just like, wow. It's like, wow, he was that resilient. You know, he kept going. He could have easily gave up, you know, but, you know, just stuff like that, man. That's what makes football special, man. The meritocracy and that goes into it, the work that goes into it, man. It's just, it honestly makes me really happy to see all those guys. Even, you know, Joe Giles still is, you know, doing his thing in the league too. It's just like, man, like, it's definitely good to see. Definitely good to see.
Well, and apologize. I got to give an apology for leaving out Rumpf and Joe Giles Harris. Hopefully those guys will forgive me for
I think they will.
mentioning.
I think they will, you know. And, you know, even with Chris, you know, we knew Chris was going to be special too from the time we saw him move around. We knew Chris was going to be something, you know. It was just fun. You know, Chris is a fun guy to be around. You know, he's energetic. You know, he's energetic all the time. He's positive all the time, you know. You know, it was just special being around those guys and seeing them flourish the way they did. And now seeing them getting paid to do it, you know, it's fun. You know, it's really fun. You know, I'm happy. I'm happy for all of them. You know, I enjoy watching them. We'll always enjoy watching them. So, yeah.
Well, looking back on your time at Duke, what are you most proud of on the field, off the field, in the community? What?
I'm most proud of graduating. Graduation. I told a lot of people, you know, I'm like, yeah, like, you know, I wanted to get drafted, go to the league and all that stuff. But I was like, man, the main thing I looked forward to was graduation. After seeing how, like, how big of an event it was at Duke, like how traditional our graduations were, I was looking forward to that the most, walking across the stage in Wallace Wade and getting my diploma. You know, so that was my, honestly, and then when I got to relive it, that was definitely my proudest moment. You know, just graduating from Duke. It was a big accomplishment because I graduated actually in fall 2019. I got in, you know, put the work in and got out. But, you know, that's my biggest accomplishment. Outside the bowl rings, because I never won any rings in high school. So that felt good to win some bowl games and stuff. But no, that definitely is my most proud moment, is graduating from Duke University.
All right. Tre, I appreciate you taking the time on this Sunday to come on and chat with us about football. It's been a great talk. I thank you for making time for this. It's been a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot. For anybody who's out there listening, you know how to get a hold of me. Send me an email, bullcitycoordinators@gmail.com. Check us out on our website, bullcitycoordinators.com. Follow us on Twitter @DukeFB Coverage. Our DMs are open. We're still working on lining up a few more interviews. We've got another one coming in March. Got some for April, and I'm working on trying to get one in May that will take us back to the Ted Roof, David Cutcliffe transition period. And the only other thing that I want to say now is go Red Blacks and go Duke. And Tre, we hope you have a great season coming up. We'll do what we can to keep up with you. I know it's hard to watch the CFL games down here in the States, but we'll be rooting for you. We'll be rooting for Ottawa. Go Duke.
Thank you so much for having me.